winter closes in, obviously the weather is going to disimprove, and I still want to be able to use the Elan day to day. Now the door seals and things that I've fabricated are actually doing okay. They're keeping the water out reasonably well, as is the roof. It seems to be pretty watertight. But an issue that I have with it is, as I drive along, it creates a bit of a vacuum above my head here, and that causes these support bars to flop down, and that's not ideal. So I've had a poke around and I found this little remnant of the old elastic webbing that used to hold these in place. It's pretty shot, but the good news is it's easy to find replacements. So I've measured this up, and then I've made a little template, just marked it out on a piece of cardboard, and then I've delved into the history books, to my old home economics classes, and I've hand stitched a few little loops that I will feed through the bars to here and here, and then all I have to do is then undo these rivets at the front and back and attach the webbing front and rear. Now there's a bit of work to get to the front one in particular, because I got to take all this plastic off, and I also have to drill out the old rivets and put in new ones, but that hopefully will stop this problem from happening and help me to use the Elan all through the winter without having to worry about this hitting me in the nose. You know, when you start a small job and you think it's going to take a certain amount of time and you plan your day around that little window, and then it all spirals terribly out of control because nothing goes the way you think it's going to. Today's one of those days, and this is one of those jobs. I'm at the point now where I'm ready to sort of put the final set of rivets in to hold the webbing in place. But the difficulty I have is trying to know, ow, bloody hell, ow. Anyway, the difficulty I have is trying to know exactly how much tension to put on the webbing so that when I put the roof up, it'll sit just right, because there's no adjusting it. I'm riveting it in, so once it's in, it's in. I think I'll go off and lie down and have a concussion somewhere. That's the last thing. That's why I'm doing this, because this happens sometimes when you're driving and it's really not fun. Ah, oh, that hurt. Hopefully I'll get this right, I'll guess this right, and I can button this down and end this horror. God, simple job, it's a bit of elastic. How can it be so complicated and painful? So my webbing is in place and I'm reasonably happy with it. I think the bars are more or less where I want them to be. This one's in a slightly different position to where it was originally, I think, but it's just so hard to get the tension right on the elastic webbing that as long as I'm close, I think I'm reasonably happy. I haven't tightened it all the way yet, so let me do that first and see if that improves things a little bit at all. Not really, but at least it's fixed and it's not hitting me on the head again. I abandoned my original idea of stitching them because it's just impossible to gauge correctly what the right amount of tension between these two bars is before putting it all in place. So instead I drilled out all the little cleats and all the rivets and re-riveted it instead, slightly differently to how it was done originally, but I think it'll work nonetheless. The only thing left to do now is to test whether it all goes back into the car as it should, so wish me luck. Undo it here, give it a click up, everything's happening okay so far. Just drop it down. Oh, that's a result. So normally this bar hits, it flops down and hits the headrests, and now it's bringing the whole lot down with it. That's super neat. Happy days. The only question is now, will it go back up again? That's it. Seems to be done. Just need to put the plastic shroud on and I can take it out for a test drive. Naturally, of course, when I want it to rain, it won't. Well, that was worth 6 hours of my life. As you know, one of the things I've complained about endlessly since I got this car was the quality of the tyres that were on it. They were appalling. Thanks to all of you that offered some really good suggestions for replacements, but the problem I have is that there's a really unusual tyre size with this car. They're on 205 50 or 15s. Now I can get 205 55s pretty easily, but I know from experience when you mess with the profile of a tyre, it affects the way the car looks and also the way it handles. So I was keen to stick with the original size. Thankfully, the guys from Falken got in touch and said, we've got a nice tyre that might suit you, we'll do you a good price, whack them on and see what you think. So here they are. They're my Falken ZE310s. And the first thing I like about them is they have this kind of 8-10 mil sort of lip on them that will not only help protect the rim, but also it really improves the stance of the car. I was very much on the fence about these wheels when I got the car because they're a bit small and delicate by modern standards, and with the tyres that were on it, they were quite round and just sucked the whole appearance of the car, and it looked like it was on casters, and I wasn't happy with them. Now there are 16-inch wheels on the Series 2, but they're really hard to find and really expensive, and aftermarkets are out of the question because it's got a weird 60 mil offset. So to be able to get a set of tyres that helps to beef up the stance and fill out those big wheel arches, that makes me very, very happy. So I'm really looking forward to getting these out on the road and giving them a bit of a test, and also to finally get a sense for what my Lotus actually properly handles like, because now I've got a set of tyres that I think I'm going to be able to lean on a little bit and really push this car and start enjoying it. Tonight I'm testing two things. Number one, I'm testing my webbing to make sure that when the wind hits the car and it sucks the roof away from the support beams, that they actually stay in place and don't hit me on the noggin. Second thing I'm testing is my new tyres. Now, I scrubbed them in yesterday on that long run up to Caffeine and Machine, so I'm pretty confident that they're in a good place now to lean on a little bit. I'm really looking forward to throwing them into their first corner. Now this is a road I know pretty well, so immediately I'm feeling a difference. On the old tyres, I would have to fight the steering wheel to see where the grip was, but already it bites better, it turns it with more tenacity, and there's far less roll on the sidewall. So I mean, already in a few bends I'm seeing a huge difference in how the car handles. Oh, that's just amazing. It's like a different car. I'll say it before and I'll say it again. The number one thing to do if you're looking to improve your handling is get better tyres. Now, I've never run Falcons before, so this is a new experience for me, but so far, wow, I already have a whole lot more confidence in driving my Elan. Haven't done any work on the car in probably a week at this stage. Needed a bit of a break, and also I had stuff to do in the house as well that had been on the perennial long finger. But tonight it's a nice evening, it's not too harsh, there's good light, so I decided it's time to get the polishing compound out. Went for the Maguire's compound. Supposedly it's better than the other stuff, so we'll see. Got my orbital polisher going, and the only thing about doing this is, you have to be standing here looking at it to see the results. You're not really going to see much of a difference, I don't think, but I'll give it a go. Here are some scratchy bits on the bumper. I don't know if you can see that. So let me get the machine out, give it a polish, and see how it looks in a few minutes. Okay, I was wrong. You can actually see. I didn't think this would come up as well as it did, but that's that same corner. And it looks almost like new. There is a small residue of where the scuff was there. You just about see it. But you come back a couple of inches and it's gone. Certainly when you stand up to look at it, you'd need to know it was there to see it. And then there's this bit over here as well. The top of this wing here it was completely blemished and cloudy, and Just a quick polish and a shine later, and it's come up with a mirror finish. So far I'm really pleased with how this is going. I think the next thing I'll do after this is just go around with a little touch-up brush and touch up those little knots and dings that I have. Like there's a few over here which I think will come up pretty well. They'll take some paint pretty well, and then once I have that done, the only other job to do for the weekend will probably be the wheels. They need to come off and get refurbed, and then I'm going to paint the lug nuts, just dip them in enamel paint as well, just to clean them up as well. Yeah, we're very close to having a really sweet little car. I've had one of my itches that need to be scratched moments, and it's wheeler dealer's fault. I was watching an episode tonight where Ant adjusted the position of the brake pedal of a Datsun Fairlady by simply taking the pedal off and giving it a bit of a bend, and immediately my synapses started firing, because one of the things, and bear with me while I show you this, that I don't like about the Elan is the position of the throttle pedal. You can see it there, it's way too far to the right and way too close to the steering wheel. It's really uncomfortable on a long journey. I have ankle ache from my long drive yesterday. And as for when you're driving enthusiastically, well, you can forget heel toeing. I'm inches away from the pedal here. Now, I've had a look underneath, and it seems like it's relatively simple to get out. There's a clip holding the cable in place and a split pin holding the shaft that holds the pedal in place. And as for the pedal itself, well, it's just a little piece of steel, which I hope can be relatively easily bent into the ideal driving position for me. So, knowing how easy this could be, there is no way I'm going to bed tonight until that itch is scratched. There it is, it's out. A little fiddly, but not too difficult. It doesn't even look straight. So I'm very much looking forward to tweaking this into the exact position that I want it. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to clean up the pedal itself. Again, it's one of those things that always let the interior down. It was just a bit rusty and crusty, so that's going to get a bit of a spruce up too. Unbelievably, I'm done. That's that. In a little over an hour, I've had the throttle pedal out, bent it into the position that I want it to be in. I've cleaned it up. I didn't bother painting it because it's just going to wear off again anyways, and this is a nice machined look to it anyways. And I've popped it back in again, and I think it's spot on, because I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little tab here welded onto the back of the throttle pedal, and it corresponds with that stopper bolt in the bulkhead, which I never knew what it was for before. So to give the car its dues, I think this was always meant to be the pedal positions, and somehow in the bodgery over the years it's gotten bent out of all shape. So I am now going out for a test drive. It's late, the road's a bit quiet. This should be good. Well, I'm back from my test drive, and the news is good. It is amazing the difference that that small tweak has made to the whole driving experience, because you really have to work the gearbox to get the best from this car. And whereas before it was a real chore trying to, well, it was kind of ankle toeing to smoothen out the downshifts. Now it's just a roll of the foot. It's amazing. But more than that, it's also transformed the long distance driving comfort, because before my thigh used to be up here against the steering wheel and my whole leg canted at a weird angle in order to be able to sit comfortably in the car, whereas now my leg is dead straight in front of me, my thigh is resting on the seat, and overall it's just a way more comfortable, way more natural place to sit. So thank you to Ant and all the guys and wheeler dealers for giving me the impetus to go out and do this. My wife isn't very happy because she's gone to bed and I'm out here in the car still, but it only took an hour in the grand scheme of things, and particularly in light of the many hours I've spent out here until the sort of wee hours of the morning, this wasn't bad. You know, I'm into bed at a reasonable time. I'll make it up to her. Sorry, love. It will come as no shock to learn that the Elan is missing its chin spoiler. If you remember, there was a big piece of metal bodged on here in lieu of the plastic under tray, and then we won't even talk about the cooling fans. So yeah, unsurprisingly, that whole thing is missing, and it really finishes off the car. It drops it down a couple of inches and really makes it look low and mean, and it doesn't look right without it. Now you can get replacements. They're fiddly and not cheap. So I'm going to try a Connor bodge first for a couple of quid. I got this this chin spoiler thing, which is a piece of rubber with some 3M tape on it. I paid about a tenner for that. I could whack that on like that and it would stick out. It would be okay, but it wouldn't look as the car did originally. I could also stick it around the other way, which would be put it on backwards and have it hang down like that. But again, it wouldn't look right, and it wouldn't do the job I wanted to do, which is to create that little air dam effect in the front. So what I've decided to do is a little bit of a Connor bodge. This is a piece of plastic trim I got, I think, in B&Q. I've drilled a few holes in it, cut a few recesses in it so I can bend it around the angle of the bumper. I'm going to bolt that into the holes that are on the underside of the bumper, and then I'm going to attach the rubber to the outside of it. Again, drill holes in it so that it all fits in nice and snug, and hopefully that will give me the effect I want at a fraction of the cost of the replacement. And crucially, if it ever does get damaged again, it is just a question of replacing a 10 quid strip of rubber. So yeah, let's see how that works out. I have to say I'm reasonably happy with that. It's not 100% straight, but that's more to do with the fact that that piece of rubber was coiled up for a long time, so it still retains a little bit of that shape. I think with time that will start to settle down and take a more uniform shape, but as it is already, that's not bad. The front of the car needed that. I think it has this svelte shape, this low bonnet, and yet the chin sat a little bit too high off the ground, so having that back gives it that purposefulness back, and also hides a lot of the damage and Connor bodges that have gone in underneath to nail that bumper back together. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with that, and I'm particularly pleased with the price. Probably cost me about 12 or 13 quid in parts. A little bit of time fiddling around with it, but it wasn't terribly difficult to do. So all in all, I'd call that a fairly successful use of my time and resources.